Now that we've completed parts 1 through 4, let's take a moment to connect everything. So far, we've reported financial activity in Part 1, built and reconciled the balance sheet in Part 2, explained how resources were used in Part 3, and disclosed leadership and compensation in Part 4. At this point, your return is financially complete. Now we move into Part 5, Other Information, which focuses on compliance and disclosure. For this walkthrough, using our New Hope example, the organization does not engage in any restricted or unusual activities, so many of the answers in this section will be no. However, it's very important to understand these answers should always reflect your organization's actual activities. Some organizations may need to answer yes and provide additional details or complete supporting schedules. Now let's walk through each line and explain what the IRS is asking so you can answer confidently and accurately. Line 33, Significant New Activities. This asks whether the organization engaged in any major new activity that has not been previously reported. Consider whether your organization launched new programs, services, or initiatives that differ from prior years. If so, additional details should be provided in Schedule O. Line 34, Changes to Governing Documents. This refers to changes such as articles of incorporation, bylaws, and organizational structure. If any governing documents were updated during the year, this must be disclosed, along with an explanation in Schedule O. Line 35A, Unrelated Business Income. This question asks whether the organization earned $1,000 or more in unrelated business income. UBI is income from activities not substantially related to the organization's exempt purpose. Examples might include advertising income, rental income not tied to mission, and business activities unrelated to programs. If this applies, the organization may need to file Form 990-T. Line 35B, Form 990-T Filing Requirement. If unrelated business income exists, this line confirms whether Form 990-T has been filed or is required. This ensures compliance with IRS reporting for taxable activities. Line 35C, Section 6033E Requirements. This applies to certain organizations, such as 501c4, 5, or 6, and it relates to lobbying and political expenditure disclosures. Most 501c3 organizations will not be subject to this requirement, but it is important to confirm your classification before answering. Line 36, Liquidation, Dissolution, and Significant Disposition of Assets. This asks whether the organization ceased operations, transferred significant assets, or underwent major structural changes. If any of these occurred, additional details must be disclosed. Line 37A, Political Expenditures. This line reports any spending related to political campaigns and election-related advocacy. For 501c3 organizations, political campaign activity is generally prohibited, so this must be reviewed carefully. Line 37B, Form 1120 POL Requirement. If political expenditures exist, this line determines whether the organization must file Form 1120 POL. Line 38A, Loans to or from officers and key employees. This asks whether the organization has made loans to insiders or has outstanding loan balances with them. These transactions are closely scrutinized by the IRS and must be disclosed accurately. Line 38B, Loan Amounts. If loans exist, the total outstanding balances are reported here. Line 39, Section 501c7 Organizations. This applies only to social clubs. Organizations should confirm whether the classification applies before completing this line. Line 40, Taxes and Penalties. This section focuses on IRS compliance risk and penalties. Line 40A, Excise Taxes. This includes 3 categories, 4911 and 4912 for excess lobbying expenditures, and 4955 for political expenditures. These apply if the organization exceeds lobbying limits or engages in political activity. Line 40B, Excess Benefit Transactions. This asks whether any insiders received improper benefits, such as excessive compensation. These transactions can trigger IRS penalties and must be reviewed carefully. Line 40C, Taxes on Individuals. If excess benefit transactions occurred, any taxes imposed on individuals are reported here. Line 40D, reimbursed taxes. This asks whether the organization paid or reimbursed those taxes, which may arise additional compliance concerns. Line 40E, prohibited tax shelter transactions. This question addresses involvement in restricted or abusive financial arrangements. While uncommon, these must be disclosed if applicable. Line 41, state filings. Enter the states where the organization files its return. This ensures state-level compliance. Line 42A, books in care of. This identifies the person responsible for maintaining records. Typically, this is an officer or administrator and may match the organization's address. Line 42B, foreign financial accounts. This asks whether the organization has bank accounts outside the United States. If yes, additional reporting may be required. Line 42C, foreign offices. This asks whether the organization operates internationally. Line 43, Section 4947, A1 Trust. This applies only to certain charitable trusts, not typical nonprofit organizations. Line 44, specialized activities. These include donor-advised funds, hospital operations, and indoor tanning services. Each must be evaluated individually based on the organization's activities. Line 45, controlled entities. These questions address relationships with subsidiaries and controlled organizations. If such relationships exist, they must be disclosed. Line 46, political campaign activities. This line asks whether the organization engaged directly or indirectly in political campaign activities on behalf of or in opposition to candidates for public office. This includes endorsing candidates, donating to political campaigns, public statements supporting or opposing candidates, and any use of organizational resources for political purposes. For 501c3 organizations, this type of activity is strictly prohibited by the IRS. In our example, the organization does not engage in political campaign activity. If an organization answers yes to this question, it must complete Schedule C, Part 1, and may face compliance issues or penalties depending on the activity. Here's the key takeaway. Part 5 is not just a checklist, it's a compliance review of the entire organization. It confirms whether activities align with IRS regulations, whether additional forms are required, and whether any disclosures or explanations must be included. Any yes answers should be carefully reviewed and may require Schedule O or additional filings. With Part 5 complete, your Form 990-EZ now includes all required compliance and disclosure information. In this section, we answered key operational questions that help the IRS understand how the organization functions and whether any additional reporting is required. In the next video, we'll move on to the final section, Part 6, Section 501c3 Organizations Only, where we'll cover additional compliance requirements specific to 501c3 organizations.